Welcome to the Lineman Lounge, hosted by Mike and Evo, calling their shots and being outlandish.
Breaking news from the Lineman Lounge. My fantasy football team just took a huge fucking hit. And that also makes it even more likely that the Raiders are going to beat the Ravens on Monday night. Le'Veon Bell is about to be your starter. Latavius Murray is going to go there as well. Jesus, fuck my ass.
Get ready for the thickest podcast in the game. Coming to you from Hangar 6, where sleeves are optional. Strap in. The show starts right now.
¿Cómo están, bitches? This is the Lineman Lounge. I'm Mike. The guy to my right is Evo. We are back, and we have got a busy fucking show today. Very excited, and man, there's what?
I just want to say hi.
Hi. Yeah, there's going to be a ton of shit to go over. We're hopefully going to get through some of these pretty quickly, but man, football is fucking back, and I'm excited. Even though the football that was on TV was not really NFL football. It was more like a USFL game. But, Evo, how's your weekend going? How you doing? And what's going on in your life?
Weekend is just getting started, man. I mean, Saturday morning, so got off work late last night and don't know what the weekend has in store for me yet. Just going to kind of be chilling for now. Oh, I mean, I do have to fix my dishwasher, normal house homeowner type shit. It's being a little bit of a bitch. So I already had it pulled apart once, and now it's going to get pulled apart again.
That was one thing I hated about owning a house. I actually had to take care of all my own shit. It's one good thing about renting is the landlord comes in, takes care of all that stuff for you. They fix all the things that you need them to fix. Because I'm not a handy guy, but I had to figure out a lot of that stuff when we had the house in Arizona, and I'll have to fucking do it all over again when we get the house out here.
The college of YouTube is very helpful. Yeah, I figure that if you can't be handsome, you got to be handy, and so YouTube's out there to help make you a little bit more handy, and it usually works out pretty well. This dishwasher is a bit of a doozy for me right now,
though. So I'm just gonna try to be more handsome instead of be handy. I've tried. Like, I was able to do certain jobs when I was younger. Like, I did flooring, and I did tear out, rebuild of office buildings and stuff like that. I did the flooring in our house in Arizona. I can do certain things, but man, like, some of that shit's beyond me, and I don't have the fucking patience to do a lot of that. I'm just going to be honest about it. Like, I don't want to do it. There are people who get paid to do that and make it look good, and I'm not fucking one of them.
Yeah, it's just they charge an arm and a leg a lot of times unless you have a hookup with somebody that can cut you a deal or something like that. A lot of times it can be pretty expensive.
Home upgrades is not a cheap venture ever.
Well, like for me, I don't want to spend $150 to $200 to come have my dishwasher looked at and potentially not even fixed. When a new dishwasher could be like $500-$600 or something like that. So I'm not going to pay a third of the cost to potentially fix my dishwasher when I could just get a new one. So I will struggle my way through this and probably have a lot of F-bombs and things like that, other unsullied language going around the house for a little bit. But then hopefully I can have a little bit more money in my pocketbook and the satisfaction of fixing something around the house. So we'll see.
Okay. All right.
So starting off today, we had a Bobbert Goblin pop in before the show even started to say hi. He's got to let everyone know that he's alive, thankfully. And then we got our boy $20 is $20, the live streaming Twitch guru. He's also posting his videos on YouTube, Facebook, everything. He's constantly playing Warzone. Saw some Fall Guys the other day. And I don't know if you've heard about this, Mike, but $20 is $20 is going to be doing sometime here in the near future a 24-hour live stream. So he's going to be on for 24 hours. I don't know that a date has been set up yet, but I told him as a friend of the show that we will push out the information for that when that happens.
Absolutely.
He's going to be having giveaways, lots of giveaways. I'm talking like up to $1,000 in giveaways during this 24-hour
Very
live
nice.
stream, playing Warzone, other group games, possibly like Fall Guys, where people watching the stream or some of his buddies can jump on and play with him. We've had some conversations, maybe some horror games late at night. If he thinks that he's going to be able to stay awake the whole time, maybe we get some drinking games in there, things like that. Probably some visits from the Vanilla Gorilla, who just put out another food review from a local eatery here in Sierra Vista today. So $20 is $20. You can see him on Twitch. If you don't catch him live, he streams daily, pretty much every day. But if you don't catch him live, you can catch his game replays. Shoot him some love for us. Great dude.
Yeah. And if $20 is $20 is still here and still watching, if you need any help with anything during that 24-hour live stream, absolutely, I'm down to help. I will hop on. I will try to create a little bit of atmosphere for you as well. Still trying to pump that up, probably late September. Okay. I mean, I'm down, especially if you do it on like a decent day, because I'm not going to have to wake up early anymore to go to work. So
yeah, I will take off work if need be, but I'm assuming that he's not going to do it on a work day. It's probably going to be a weekend. So that way, I mean, it just makes sense. Not only is it not going to affect his work schedule, but also everyone else that would want to watch during an entire 24-hour live stream can't really be doing that at work and be paying attention to their job.
Right.
So yeah, I'm sure it'll be on a weekend. Bound to be a lot of fun. He's going to get the community involved. All of us that enjoy Dave, he's our guy. We want to get involved with it. I'm down to be playing some games. I'll download some games in order to be playing with him during that stream and keep him going. And then we'll just start funneling him over a whole bunch of cocaine to stay awake for the whole 24 hours and things like that.
Yeah.
Or one of his suggestions for like our 100th episode or whatever was, hey, we should all just take a whole bunch of Viagra and do another food eating challenge. And I was like, why would we take Viagra? Why am I going to be bricked up for the whole show? Well, maybe he should be taking a whole bunch of dick pills and just get completely bricked up for part of the stream and have to play Warzone that way.
I mean, that's going to be that's the late night part. Definitely. That's not your typical, public broadcasting. So dedefinitely, I mean, I'm down to see that, but that's that HBO midnight special.
It'll transfer from Twitch only to over to OnlyFans for a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, that would make sense. So
Viagra and laxatives.
I'm not going to watch you shit your pants with an erection, Dave. Not happening.
I can imagine, Dave's laughter, his uncontrolled laughter. Can you imagine him on the pot with a big old boner just laughing?
Fucking, ugh.
Oh, yeah.
Goddamn baby's forearm holding an apple.
Sounds like a good time.
All right, well, so we're now 8.5 minutes into the show. We've not really spoken about any sports yet or anything going on.
Boner is kind of sporting.
Boners and shit in our pants.
And e-games.
Yep.
Esports.
But yeah, man. So there's a ton of shit going on. Football's going on. So U Sports type stuff. We haven't talked U Sports in a little bit. Kind of been away from the show last week. We didn't do a weekend show. We did the emergency podcast for Deshaun. But for us, U Sports slow right now. We got football going on. Graydon has had football practice Monday through Friday for the last 2 weeks. It's a lot. But his team looks really good. They had a scrimmage last night against one of the other teams. They look really fucking good. So they should have a pretty good season. Graydon is slotted to start right now at the center spot, kind of this position he's played for a while. So that step up in competition that I was kind of expecting. I mean, there is a step up in competition here, but he's done a good job and made his way so far projected to be a starter, which is fantastic. Baseball is done. Soccer may come up here in the near future. Maybe if the little one will stop fucking hurting herself. I don't know if you saw on the Facebook, Aubrey broke her arm, but only kind of broke it.
I didn't see a break. I just saw the brace.
Yeah, so she has a buckle fracture. So kids are bendy. Apparently a buckle fracture is the bone bent and then causes a little chip in another part of the bone that gets raised up. So it's kind of like a little break. Now, when you're an adult, your bones don't bend; they just fucking snap. But as a child, you get a little luckier. So she has that going on. Yeah, it was not been a fun day or last 2 days because she's very whiny. I understand. My arm is broken. Get a little more attention, but goddamn, it's been tough. But hopefully that heals up pretty quick. Get her in soccer. G doing his thing. I'm gonna have a lot more time though. This is kind of a little personal news. I quit my job. Not that I didn't like the job. I didn't dislike the company at all. The company was fine. I didn't enjoy the job because I didn't like the work. It was so fucking boring. I was tired of it. So I put in my application, Cleveland State, got accepted. I'm going to be attending Cleveland State starting at the end of the month. So I'm super pumped about that, especially considering all the goddamn college credits they took. So I should not have really too much work to do to finally go out there and get that college degree.
And you can also support Mike and his family on Mike's OnlyFans. He's going to be
no, so I will not have to be doing that. Luckily, the military is going to, come through and pay me and for my college for the most part. So I got very lucky there, but had a little bit of a celebration last night. So like I said, if I lose track of where we're going, guys, we're going to blame it on last night, and Evo's hopefully going to steer the ship in the right direction.
That's the hope. I think
that is the hope.
I got it down.
Yeah.
We might end up reverting back to Dave's boners, but I'll do my best. I fall back on what I love.
Dave's boners.
All
right, man. So we're going to get the show started with some actual fucking talk about sports. So right now, let's talk about football, man. Let's get the show started with what we love, kind of our bread and butter. And, there's some shit going on right now. The Hall of Fame enshrinement is taking place. I would say if you guys want to watch live, hop over on ESPN, but just don't do that. Stay here and watch us talk about the Hall of Fame and the speeches and all the people going in. Anybody on this list that particularly stood out was like, man, this guy was a shoo-in, or this guy needed to get in because he should have been in there a while ago?
Let's see what we got. Tony Baselli, Cliff Branch, Leroy Butler, Art McNally, Sam Mills, late Sam Mills, and defensive end Richard Seymour, and Dick Vermeil, defensive tackle Bryant Young. I mean, so some of these names are going to be names that are maybe lesser known to a younger audience of ours, but they are all, for the most part. I mean, I guess I don't know Art McNally, the official. It isn't normal for me to recognize NFL officiating going into the Hall of Fame
unless they're really fucking bad.
Well, yeah, or I mean, go in the Ed Hockley.
Yeah, okay.
Ed Hockley's biceps, at least, are going to make it in.
Fucking boom.
But otherwise, I recognize all these other guys. They're all Hall of Fame worthy in my opinion. It's maybe less of a star-studded Hall of Fame group, but I think we got a couple of those coming up of guys that are going to be going into the Hall that are really, really big, well-known names. Some of these guys, like Sam Mills. I mean, Sam Mills was a linebacker, absolute monster. Smaller guy, but absolute monster. I mean, no one that really surprised me again, other than the official. And even the name Art McNally sounds like I've heard it before. I'd have to Google him up to look and see who he is.
So I think it's cool whenever you get to be the first to do something, no matter what. The first now, was it Tony Baselli is not the first person to get inducted to the Hall of Fame. He's not the first lineman. He is the first Jaguar, though. For a franchise that has not been around for a very long time, having you be named the first Hall of Famer in an organization's career, I mean, I feel like that's got to be pretty cool. The Jags, they've had some good times, kind of sparingly in their existence, but Tony Baselli was definitely a bright spot. I will remember those, Maurice Jones-Drew years, and then was it Mark Brunell? Like, those guys stand out to me. But Tony Baselli, he was a fucking stud. That's why he's going to the Hall of Fame. First one to do it for the Jags.
Absolute stud, and a relatively short playing career Only
8 years,
95
7
to
years?
2001, 6 years.
6 years.
So,
Oh shit, a lot
well,
shorter than
I mean,
thought.
technically, he went to the Houston Texans in 2002, but he was only there for the offseason and on their practice squad type thing. So, offseason didn't actually end up playing. He ended up retiring before actually the season started. And that was due to injuries. But I mean, football is a rough game. You got to figure most guys who get to the professional level of football have been playing it most of their life. So that's a lot of wear and tear in the body. You're talking about 20 years, in some cases, or more of abuse on the body before, getting to the NFL. And then that's even more abuse. So yeah, bodies are going to break down, especially when you're playing on the line. A big guy like him, 6'7", 322, monster of a man. And so kind of cut his career short, but he still made the all-decade team, even though he
only half the
decade.
decade.
Yeah. So pretty impressive college player. And you might recognize him a little bit more because you can hear him. He's a Westwood One representative. He broadcasts a lot of NFL games. He's always on NFL Sirius radio, things like that, talking. So he was actually the first player drafted by the Jaguars. They selected him second overall in the 95 draft.
Yeah. Like first draft pick for the organization, first Hall of Famer for the organization. That's a really cool story. Now, obviously I'm not watching the Hall of Fame. Can't hear the speeches, but I would imagine that's going to be a really cool speech, being the first to do something. Jaguars were just playing in the Hall of Fame game.
And as you'd expect, they lost.
Yeah. They look
not
terrible.
That preseason games matter, especially not the Hall of Fame game.
The Hall of Fame game is the most worthless football game. We can actually just transition right over into the game stuff.
Yeah, it's the NFL season starting when the Jaguars lose. So
yeah,
that kicked off the season correct. They were playing the Raiders, who are arguably going to be one of the better teams, I guess, in the AFC this year, or have the potential to. I know that Raiders fans currently in prison are really just having a great time, thinking that they're going to have a good team this year. But the Hall of Fame game is kind of that joke. You will not have starters playing. You might have starters dress, but they will not play. That field is notorious for injuries and stuff like that, or the field is getting beat up.
The field is in very rough shape for the most part. Well, and here's the thing. It's a high school field. Now, it is a very nice high school here in Ohio. Canton McKinley is no joke. They are one of the best high schools in the state, and they have a chance to win the state title here in Ohio, one of the largest places for high school football every fucking year. So great facilities, but it's still a high school field as compared to what some of these guys are used to playing on, the immaculate, well-kept fields. So they've had the issues in the past with the paint, it being too muddy. Like there was a rain delay in this game.
Yeah. They had lightning that kept on pushing back the game, which I was at work, so I couldn't watch it. I was trying to listen to it on the radio in one earbud, and it just kept on getting pushed back because of lightning. So that was a little bit annoying. But the game was played. We got to see the backups out there playing, and it is that official start to the NFL season. That means that we have football every week from here on through the Super Bowl.
Through what, February, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
So football is fucking back. I mean, it's not all the way back yet. We're not quite there. We're still going to have to slog through some of these goddamn preseason games.
But look, I for one, really enjoy preseason, just specifically for being able to watch my team and the players. I mean, we talked about this before with going to training camp and how you kind of watch some of those lesser known players or undrafted rookies, things like that are on your team. You can kind of get attached to them. Right. I'm doing the best that I can to pay attention to Vikings training camp right now, which is difficult without being in Minnesota and being right there. It's watching a lot of the pundits who are following your team that are going to all the open practices and watching what's going on. I particularly like to follow the ones that are way more pessimistic with the Vikings, because I feel like that will give me a much more realistic outlook as to what's going on. Right. And even the pessimists right now seem fairly positive with the direction of my team, which is making me super happy.
Right.
And then I like watching those preseason games because I get to start to see the install of our offense, which is a new offense. I get to see the install of that new defense, and I get to watch all these younger players starting to get to make a name for themselves. And honestly, in years past, when I've had time and I've had, a direct TV or something like that, where I can go back on the NFL network and watch replays of these games, I will, because I'm looking for those guys, especially the third, fourth stringers that aren't going to make the squad, to see, hey, maybe this guy could be an upgrade for my team. And every once in a while, you'll see one of those gems in a game. You'll be like, okay, that guy's got something. Let's see if he actually makes the squad. Maybe we can bring him onto our practice squad. He could be something this year or in a future year or something like that.
Well, the guy you need, I'm pretty sure, is still out there. My boy, JC.
I don't think that's going to happen anymore.
No?
No. Now, that is the one thing from Vikings training camp that I have heard. Garrett Bradbury is getting obliterated. He's getting obliterated.
Yeah.
That our backup center isn't even really a center. And they're talking that he's probably going to be an upgrade over Bradbury right now. The thing is that the Buccaneers are now without their center, and JC Shredder is in contract talks with the Buccaneers. That's probably where he'll end up.
JC's about done. JC doesn't practice, like we've talked about before. JC's going down there to probably go chase a ring with, Tom and Julio now. So,
yeah.
Because I don't think we've touched on that yet either.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we did, but Julio Jones did sign a contract down there with the Buccaneers. So just adding to their receiving options for Tom Brady. So that'll be interesting.
He's gonna take that place of Antonio Brown. Now, very different skill sets between those two guys.
Yeah.
But I think Julio will fold right in. He knows where he's at in his career at this point. He's kind of on, the downslope. He's on his last legs. He's been beat up. I think he can be fucking dominant as a number 3 in that system, though. Really good route runner, big, tall guy. Like, you can put him over the middle, and he'll go up and get the fucking ball. Hopefully he'll get up after the play is over. He's struggled with some injuries, but it's going to be a really nice addition for them. I think I got Bills Bucks. Now that the Hall of Fame game is over, my official pick, since the football season has finally started, I got Bills Bucks in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, the Bucks are going to be a pretty common thing. The Bills, for me, 100% all the way. I think the NFC could shake up a little bit different. Like, I'm trying to temper myself. I don't think the Vikings are going to necessarily be Super Bowl bound, but I think that they actually could make the playoffs. I think you guys are
playoff bound now.
Pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. And I think that they will look at options at center. I just don't know that it'll be Treader anymore, because I think Treader is going to be off there. Now that there can be a bidding competition, those Bucks are going to seem like a pretty enviable spot for him if he wants to go somewhere.
If he's going to pick his place, he's going to go somewhere he wants to have a chance to win.
I have to question why we wouldn't have already tried to make a deal for him. If we're installing a new offense, you want to get him in as soon as possible to try to learn this stuff, because it's not like he can go in and learn from other players how the system is. They're all learning too. So, and we do have a question from Rigby here, from Jonathan, and I was holding off on this a little bit. He asks, what do you think about TJ Vasher, a wide receiver for Dallas? He was an undrafted free agent for Dallas. It seems like they're needing some receivers. We're going to pull from the younger guys that they have. Vasher, he's a 6'6", 6'5", 210-pound guy, pretty tall, out of Texas Tech. I don't know much about him other than that. He wasn't one of the guys that we kind of profiled in our pre-draft stuff. He is a very big receiver.
I think that'll be good if you can get him. He's not going to get a lot of targets. I mean, that CD is going to pull almost all the targets. When Michael Gallup finally gets back and is healthy and is fucking doing Michael Gallup things, I still think he's the best receiver on that team. I think that's why they were comfortable getting rid of Amari Cooper. So Vasher could maybe turn out to be a 3, but Dallas is going to have to figure out how to fix their line, run the ball better. They're paying a fuckload of money to Ezekiel Elliott, who has not been their most productive back over the last couple of years. And they have some holes that they got to figure out on the offensive line. for what was once the most dominant unit in football. I mean, injuries and time have really caught up to them, and we could see it last year, I think.
Yeah. And the reason that Gooby brings this up is that in the offseason, Dallas brought in James Washington, former receiver of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and now James Washington is out, I believe, with a Liz Frank fracture in his foot or something like that. He's out for the year. So that leaves them with CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup, who is also hurt right now.
Yeah.
And beyond that, they've got a bunch of other guys that are kind of no-namers. Noah Brown, Simi Fehoko, Brandon Smith, Ty Freifogel. Not names
Ty
that
Freifogel sounds like he sells
recognize.
fucking insurance.
Yeah. So not a whole bunch of names
Ty's
that you
a very good player and could kick my ass, but
not a whole bunch of names that you really know. And other than that, for your receiving options, you've got Dalton Schultz, who is a good receiving tight
like
end.
Dalton Schultz. I like
but
him.
Right now they'd roll out with CeeDee Lamb, Dalton Schultz, and a group of nobodies. And
a group of Jags.
So it is a situation where they could be looking to poach some people, and that's where I would tell Gooby, you kind of got to almost wait for cut down days, because teams are going to start releasing receivers, whether it's veteran guys who have some experience, but they just aren't worth a roster spot on the team right now for their particular team, or some of these younger players that they just can't afford to keep on the squad. If they send them to the practice squad, your team, Cowboys, would be able to offer them a contract, assuming that it's not one of the blocked practice squad spots. As long as they are being added to the 53-man roster,
they have to be
you can sign them off the practice squad. There are going to be names out there that are going to be available. And I believe
there's
that
some veterans out there.
Names. Yeah.
There's some veterans still out there that they could still add to that wide receiver group.
Absolutely.
Which I could see Jerry trying to make a play and going to get a guy. I was a little surprised that they didn't attack that position harder in free agency or in the trade market to try to add a guy. Jerry is notorious for trying to add big names, big pieces. Like, that's what he wants. Jerry is a businessman. He's going to sell fucking tickets. And right now that offense is not inspiring people to be like, man, this offense is going to be really exciting to watch, which is what sells tickets. Right now, I don't know that it's all that exciting. I don't like them to – I'm not sure they're going to make the fucking playoffs. Now, Dak's very good. Dak can make some things happen. Dak has his moments where he struggles, but they've lost some pieces on defense. They don't have enough weapons on offense. I think that might be the Eagles' division. I know Rugaby's not going to like to hear that, but.
Now, there are still, like I said, a bunch of wide receivers out there available. I don't know that this list is up to date that I just pulled up, but you still have T.Y. Hilton out there, Emmanuel Sanders, Deshaun Jackson, Cole Beasley, who I feel like Cole Beasley would be a fit there.
Yeah, but Cole Beasley was there before he went to the Bills, and that was an ugly breakup. I don't know if he goes back.
What was it, that ugly? I don't remember if it was ugly.
I think it was ugly between him and Jerry. So that might be tough.
I don't know. I mean, if you're in this current situation, you kind of got to do what you need to do to get some guys in.
So don't get me wrong. I think Cole would be really good. You put him at the slot. You let CD work outside, and you see what you can do.
And there's AJ Green and stuff like that. There's still names out there. So if you end up having to, you can go out and get a more veteran wide receiver, and those guys can slot in to the offense a lot easier than some other positions, because the route trees for receivers are generally the same wherever you go. They're just going to have different names for routes, possibly
different terminology,
and those receivers can usually pick up on that pretty quick. And then it's just building a rapport with the quarterback. And Dak's a good quarterback. I mean, he can build that rapport through a week or two of practice. So there's options out there. And like you said, I think it's more of an opportunity from less known names to have a chance and surprise people. That's
there's always somebody that comes out of the woodwork. Like, you're going to find a guy that probably gets you 600-700 yards. You're like, man, this kid wasn't even on the radar. He's going to have a decent little year. And then we'll see if he makes the squad next year, because Jerry's probably going to make a move. If they don't get to that goal where they're at this year, like Mike McCarthy.
There's going to be some moving and shaking.
Yeah, definitely. Mike McCarthy.
Some moving and shaking and Sean Payton.
Mm-hmm.
But it is wishful thinking to hope that some of these guys are going to be able to come out and surprise. at the end of the day, you have to have guys to throw the ball to. It's whether or not that they can run those routes and whether or not they can catch the ball. It doesn't always work out. Sometimes it does work out. For instance, the Green Bay Packers, for years and years and years, have had meh receivers, maybe one good guy, maybe two good guys, but the rest of the squad is kind of meh. And then you start seeing names who have inflated stats to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
And then those guys end up leaving, going somewhere else, and not really performing. And it's because of the quarterback play there and the high volume of passing. People are going to have those opportunities. They're going to get receiving yards, and they might be boosted up. But not every situation is going to be like that. And so when you have a Dallas Cowboys right now where they have essentially one good starting receiver that can go out there, and James Washington, he's a number 3 anyways. Like, he's a decent receiver, but he's kind of a number 3. He's not someone that you want to lean on as a number 2. So until Gallup comes back, you are a little bit thin in that receiving core. Hopefully some of those guys can step up, and hey, it's the preseason. It's the perfect time to find out. That's when all those number 3s and beyond are going to be playing a whole bunch. So you'll get to see here real quick, starting this coming weekend, what you've got in store.
And I'd like to just go back and make sure I heard this right. Did you just almost compliment Aaron Rodgers in elevating the receiver play around him?
Nope, he does ayahuasca, and that's not nice.
Yeah, well, I thought that was
going on spiritual journeys.
I thought it was an interesting thing to put out for a franchise quarterback. Now, I got no problem with it. I like the idea of guys being themselves, doing their thing. You don't typically hear a franchise guy, probably one of those guys that I at least consider one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, coming out and saying, I went on a ayahuasca trip, fucking tripped my balls off, got this crazy tattoo, and just made him a more spiritual person.
And he's dating a witch.
Yeah, well,
I think he's in a position right now where he's like, these guys have just paid me an insane amount of money. I am probably on the back half of my career, if not the back eighth of my career, because it's been going downhill for a while. I can kind of get away with whatever I want and say whatever I want because the voting is rigged. And I can kind of get away with saying whatever I want because at least I'm not sexually assaulting massage therapists.
Yeah, there we go. There's that. What did you think of Aaron fucking rolling up at training camp, fucking Con Air style?
I think that he's trying to take some of the shine away from my quarterback, Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is well known for being a big-time Nick Cage fan, much like our boy Bobbert Goblin. In many, many pressers over the years, reporters ask Kirk Cousins about Nick Cage movies. And so he goes into these long diatribes about some of the lesser known Nick Cage movies and stuff like that, even though apparently he's a fan of National Treasure and whatnot. And so I think Aaron is just trying to culturally appropriate from our Midwestern white boy, Kirk Cousins. Yeah.
Nah, man, it was good. And
I don't know what is more cringe to me, honestly. Is it him rolling up looking like Nick Cage from Con Air, or Russ Westbrook rolling up in a truck that is ginormous compared to him with all the fucking lights attached to it, like he's going to be going off-roading or something like that.
And not only that, rocking his own fucking jersey. He's back in high school wearing his own jersey coming to training camp. Like, Russ he's a nerd, man, but he fucking plays. He's authentic to his nerdiness and the way he does shit. I thought it was hilarious.
I think it would have been funny for Sierra to drop him off like his first day at school and send him in with his lunch pail.
Well, no, that'll be somebody doing that down for Kyler, dropping him off at school, making sure he does his homework.
Yeah, I did. There were some memes down here because new wide receiver to the Arizona Cardinals, Hollywood Brown, just got activated off of their PUP list and immediately got himself criminal speeding charges and was arrested. So there's a video on a highway up in Phoenix of a little RC car flying down the highway saying Kyler Murray driving Hollywood Brown to work from now on. Yeah. Maybe while they're in the car, Hollywood can help Kyler with some of his study, his no longer mandatory study material.
No longer mandatory, so we've talked about the study policy, how like it was weird to think that they had to put that in there. Them coming out and publicly announcing that they took that out of the contract. Did that make that situation better or worse?
I don't think it's good for anyone involved. I think it's interesting in the first place that Kyler's agent accepted that contract knowing that was in there.
Mm-hmm.
Because as the agent, he has to release something now to the press saying, yeah, they put this stupid clause in there, which isn't going to make his client look good. He did it in an attempt to make the Cardinals look worse, but the Cardinals fumbled the PR move and ended up going back on it. Obviously, Kyler looks bad, like he doesn't study or something like that. I've seen reports here and there that the same sort of thing that was happening with Jamarcus Russell was happening with Kyler, where they had sent him tapes and then Kyler came in saying, yeah, I was reviewing the blitz packages or something like that.
Yeah.
There's information out there now about that. And Kyler, if you do or don't know, for anyone out there, he's getting into a little bit of a Twitch gaming career as well on the side. He's got esports team ties and stuff like that, and he's been spending a lot of time with that. And so maybe that was part of the focus, because apparently some of the verbiage in there about his study necessities of the 4 hours of study was that it had to be only 4 hours of studying that game film or tape without anything else going on, to include TV, movies, video games in the background. Mm-hmm. So like they were specific about the video games part. And I'm wondering if they're thinking that his other outside of football life is intermingling too much with his football life. I don't know, but it's not the best thing.
Kyler struggles at the end of the year. Kyler struggles towards the end of the year. His fantasy points drop down drastically towards the end of the year. And every time at the end of the year, there's either a new Call of Duty that drops or there's fucking new maps that drop. And if he's hitting up, that war zone, he's crushing those maps, trying to learn those maps, get better on the esports. So I can see how that tie is absolutely made. Like, oh yeah, when Call of Duty drops, Kyler doesn't do so good.
Yeah, it's interesting. When you go and you sign who is now to be your franchise quarterback to a big contract like that, you probably should have not put that verbiage in there. Yeah. Or if you felt like you had to put that verbiage in there, maybe he's not your franchise guy. Yeah.
And this it looks really bad for the agent too. The agent who's negotiating this contract's like, oh, look, I got my guy the most money. Yeah, but you allowed a fucking PR shitstorm to happen by allowing this dumbass clause to be put into the contract just so you can say you got more money.
Yeah, it doesn't look good for the Cardinals. It doesn't look good for Kyler. It doesn't look good for Kyler's agent. Everyone involved has some poo-poo on their face after this is all said and done. It's like, why? You didn't have to do any of that, but it's the Cardinals. I guess their front office makes some real funky decisions sometimes.
Every once in a while they do. Every once in a while. But all right, where the fuck were we going? I feel like we just
football in general. Off. We jumped from the Hall of Fame game into some other bullshit, which is fine. We talked about Gooby's question with the wide receivers. How is your training camp going for the Browns, Mike?
Well, so I'm gonna answer your question by asking you a question first. Now, the Vikings training camp. Do they have to buy tickets to attend training camp, or is it just open? You can walk in and that people can see the practice?
I don't know anymore. I know that previously, when the training camps were held in Mankato, you didn't have to buy tickets ahead of time. You had to pay entrance. Okay. And it was like $5 or $10 or something like that to get in for the day. It was something pretty cheap, and they had surrounding the practice facilities and fields, they had a whole bunch of other events going on, meet and greet booths, things like that, football toss games, stuff for the kids, for the most part. Now I'm not so sure with the Vikings training camp being in Eagan at their actual facility that they have, their new training facility, whereas before they were on the college campus of my alma mater, Minnesota State, Mankato. where it was not set up for them. They had players staying in dorms and stuff. Now they're at their actual training facility where they will be during the off season, where they'll be during the season at their training fields practicing. They've got hotels, medical facilities. The whole setup is there for them. And then they have only a small segment of those fields that actually have bleachers and stands for people to really be able to watch. So I know that we've only had some of the practices open to the fans, only some of the practices open to the press, things like that. As far as entrance and whether or not you need tickets, I've got no clue. Haven't been back to Minnesota since they've actually opened up this facility in the past couple of years.
Okay. So for the Browns, you have to get tickets. You have to buy tickets to get into the facility. There's only so many. They don't, because they try to control it. There's, bleachers all around, but there's only so many tickets. So I have not been able to actually go to a training camp and see training camp. Now, what I have seen is a lot of things on Twitter from people who have been going to training camp. I've seen Carnes put out some stuff. We had him on the show. I saw Gab put out some stuff as well. The team looks right now really good. The defense is apparently just absolutely buzzing around. They are picking off Deshaun Watson. It doesn't matter who we're putting back there. Our defense is going out there. They're getting the ball. Offenses looked fairly decent. We got wide receiver, I think his last name is Woods, kind of stepping up, making a name for himself. Could potentially see himself making it onto the squad. But I'm pretty sure that's not what you're asking. The big question is, how are people reacting to Deshaun?
The holistic view, everything. But from the team, because I know I kind of went into stuff with my Vikings, and I can go a little bit further with the Vikings camp. I just kind of focused on the center position. But holistic for the Browns, that would involve the Deshaun Watson situation, right, I suppose.
Well,
but
so
everything else.
Some good news is we're getting some guys off the PUP. David Bell's finally getting activated off the PUP. Anthony Walker's coming back off the PUP. Anthony Walker is going to be, very crucial to this defense. He's that middle linebacker. He's the captain. He calls the plays. Getting David Bell some fucking practice reps is going to be huge. And now we know for sure that we're not going to have Deshaun for at least 6 weeks because he has been suspended. We talked about that on our last emergency podcast. So we can kind of start moving forward with Jacoby as our starter, at least for 6 weeks, because he is not appealing the 6 games at all. So that's definitely going to happen, even though the NFL is appealing the 6-game suspension. I'm assuming going for more games or some of that money. But the fan response at training camp has been overwhelmingly positive for Deshaun. He's getting mobbed for autographs. People want to see him, want to talk to him. So he's being well received by the people who are going. But that's not the overall case, I think, across the majority of American sports fans, and a lot of the women that I follow on, Brown's Twitter. So it's a very weird, complicated situation because you want to root for the team. You want to root for the name on the front of the jersey, right? You want to root for your team. But that whole situation is kind of pulled away from that. And now we're having discussions about just one player. It's very reminiscent of what was happening with Baker Mayfield when he was struggling. We weren't talking about the team. We were just talking about Baker, people loving Baker, people hating Baker. And now we're kind of in the same situation with a guy who should be better, but we won't see him for a while. And with, a much darker cloud hanging over his head. So the team right now looks pretty good. Defense is looking fantastic. I expect the offensive line and the running game to do very well. Now we're going to have to see, what is Jacoby going to do? What can Jacoby do? Can he give us better quarterback play than we had last year? I think we'll find out Friday. Excuse me. I want to say, where the fuck did that go? Yeah. Friday, we play the Jags. So we're going to get our first look. Now, this is going to be game 1. I don't know how much we're going to see any starters. I would imagine we won't see Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt. Probably won't see Miles, most of the starting defense. We may see the offensive line a little bit, but it's going to be what we do at the quarterback position. Deshaun's probably not getting into any of these games, I would imagine. Maybe he will towards the end, but we got to get Jacoby reps. We got to get him in some game action. Then We got to have Dobbs come in. We're probably going to fucking see Rosen quite a bit on Friday night, which I'm not looking forward to. But camp right now is going okay for the team as a whole. But there's just still that massive storm cloud over the head of Cleveland Browns fans and the organization with all the things going on with Deshaun.
Yep. And like we were saying, we had that little quick emergency pod, and it wasn't really that quick. I mean, we still went into almost an hour there, but
almost, yeah.
The NFL actually did decide to appeal the 6-game ruling that came down from Judge Sue Robinson, which I personally didn't think that they would. And it didn't even take them the full 3 days to do it, I believe. I believe it was on the second day after the ruling that Goodell said that they would be appealing. And he did appoint someone to act in his stead, basically, which is smart on his part. It's former New Jersey Attorney General Peter C. Harvey will hear the league's appeal. And I don't know how this is going to go, because
I think it's going to go very badly for the NFL.
That's the thing is, so I sent you one of the podcasts, or a timestamp of a podcast that I like to listen to, where Arif Hassan, reporter for The Athletic, he's part of the Norse Code podcast, which is my favorite Vikings podcast to listen to. He is one of those pessimistic Vikings fans who is extremely analytic driven, but he's also much more progressive leaning. And not that necessarily plays into the Deshaun Watson case so much, but he definitely is on the side of Deshaun Watson did not get enough of a suspension. So I think that does.
I think a lot of people, I think the majority of people are on that side that 6 games wasn't enough.
Agreed. But, when we talked about this last week, Sue Robinson's report and the things that I've since read in her report basically are going into, she found evidence that there was enough evidence to say that he did sexually assault these women, that these things did happen, and that because of that, she would employ the full use of the NFL's current conduct policy against him, which was, like we said, first time offense is usually 6 games. And then it goes beyond that when there's multiple offenses. And it did get clarification on it. It is the first time that you have been penalized by the NFL for it is considered your first offense. Yeah. So even though there's multiple occurrences of this happening, he's only being penalized once so far by the NFL from this, which is why it's at that 6 games. And she was basing that ruling based off of precedent and saying that it would be basically illegal to use a post hoc ruling on this, changing the rules after the action has already taken place and applying a new rule set to it. Whereas the NFL feels that it is necessary in this case to adjust the rules because of the severity of the situation and create a new precedent. And I can understand both sides of the argument. The thing is that I don't think Sue Robinson, that her ruling was incorrect. The way that she approached it and ruled on it is correct, which means that the 6 games is correct, even though, yes, everyone's gut is 6 games isn't enough.
But that's not Sue's fault. That's the NFL's fault.
Correct.
That's the NFL's fault. And that's why I think it's going to be really bad for the NFL. The reason the ruling came down the way it did is because the NFL has set a terrible precedent. They do not protect women. They've kind of shown that talent will take you past any allegations or detrimental conduct. And they have allowed this to happen. And now they realize how bad this looks. And they have to go back on what they agreed to and make a change. So now they're moving the goalposts because they don't like the way it came out.
Well, they might.
And then they might be.
That's the thing, is that it is now up to this former New Jersey Attorney General Peter C. Harvey to hear the league's appeal. And it's, what sheet of music is he going to work off of? We don't know. Is he going to look at what Sue Robinson did and be like, well, her application is correct? Or is he going to say her application is correct, but I do understand why the NFL would want to do more because this is more of an egregious situation, so you can move beyond what your previously set player conduct or personal conduct policy is?
I don't think the NFL makes this decision to appeal and know who they're going to appoint unless they know they're going to get something more than what was originally given.
And that's where I agree with you.
This is that I don't want to go into a whole conspiracy theory thing, but I mean, it stinks.
Goodell could have appointed himself. It's better that he appointed someone else, but
Right.
But it wasn't like they went to the NFLPA and collectively decided who it was going to be. Goodell just got to
The
pick
NFL
somebody.
picked.
So Goodell could have picked his wife and been like, yeah, she's going to arbitrate on this. And obviously his wife is in his pocket, you know?
Yeah. And he has the authority to do that. And
it could be the same thing with this guy.
And Roger Goodell is in the pocket of the owners. Roger Goodell is an employee of the owners. Something that we've talked about before, but I still don't think people fully understand. Roger Goodell works for the owners. He works for the NFL. So if the owners are unhappy and the kickback looks bad, Roger will do what he thinks he should to appease the owners and keep his position and all of that stuff. That's why he's not in charge, but he probably picked somebody that is going to hand down a worse punishment because that's what the owners want. But if Deshaun actually files suit, it's going to turn ugly as fuck because now we're going to go into another trial and, asking for evidence and findings, and they could be pulling, transcripts from, nice.
Roberta Gussolini.
So they could be requesting, documentation from emails and things like that. We know how the NFL is about handing over evidence to outside sources when they're doing some sort of an investigation that they don't necessarily want you to know about. It's going to be very, very ugly. And I told you they opened up Pandora's box when we were talking. It's not going to go good. Deshaun is going to get suspended for longer. I have no doubt. Or they're going to take a good chunk of his money. And they're going to have to set up some new stipulation that says, well, we can take this because of this. And now that whole collective bargaining thing, it's going to go back to court probably.
Yeah, I see no way that. Honestly, it would be funny if Goodell appoints this guy, Peter C. Harvey, and he goes, yeah, her application is correct. That stands. That would be hilarious. But I guess it would be a way for the NFL to be like, look, we appointed another guy and a second person also said the same thing. So public outcry should not be against us. We'll change our personal conduct policy now after the fact.
Yeah.
That I guess I could see happening, but more likely is there's going to be more games added under the suspension. Now, the rumors that I heard in like the 24 hours or so around that ruling was the NFL had been looking for 12 games. Yeah. And because they didn't get the 12 games, they were unhappy. And now it sounds like they're looking for the indefinite.
They're looking for the indefinite. They want the indefinite.
Yeah. Now
I think that's always been the ultimate goal, was the indefinite. That way they can pick and choose if and when he comes back. Yeah. Because this is not just the NFL who's done a really bad PR job. The Browns have done a bad PR job, and so has Deshaun. So,
well, I mean, sexually assaulting massage therapists.
Yeah, that's obviously already bad. Yeah, but the Haslams came out and said, Deshaun is he's ready to move on. He, basically says he has remorse, and Deshaun has constantly gone back and said, I did nothing fucking wrong. So they're not even on the same sheet of music, where the organization is trying to send out a letter to everybody saying, oh no, he's contrite, and we're going to move past this, and he's going to be a great person on and off the field going forward. Where Deshaun's like, I didn't do anything fucking wrong. I'm just going to continue as is. So,
yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, supposedly this process is supposed to move pretty quick. What that means, I'm not so sure. I would
imagine that it'll be done inside of a week because they already know what they want.
And I would expect that if Deshaun Watson, if there's games added, they're gonna file suit. They're gonna file suit. They're probably gonna ask for a stay on this, which means that I believe the stay will include the 6 games still. Be like, hey, this is what was originally supposed to be. And so that he would be like, after those 6 games, like if this proceeding or whatever were to take longer, like he might still get to play this year after those 6 games, if that stay is able to be put in place. I don't know the legalese of how this is going to work, but I don't know, man. It's just, this thing is like herpes. It just keeps coming back.
Fucking I wish it would die, but it won't. Penicillin's not going to do it. Like, I don't want to get too far into it, man, because it's nobody fucking knows. Once again, we're back in limbo because the appeal. I think a lot of people are expecting the appeal to go one way. I think Deshaun's team is probably preparing for the worst here, and it's going to get worse for them. So we've got a long ways to go with this. I was hoping that nobody was going to appeal. We'd just go our 6 games and then we'd fucking move on with the season. But in typical, Cleveland fan fashion, we are stuck waiting for the next move to be made, and it's probably going to fuck us.
And I guess I'd be remiss not to bring it up, but I did post it on the Lineman Lounge Facebook page. Did you see it? There's that massage therapy national convention thing going on like a mile away from the stadium.
Right down the road from fucking First Energy. Right down the fucking road.
You can't write this stuff better.
No.
Yeah. As far as the rest of training camp, it sounds like things are going good for you guys. So congratulations there. Hopefully the quarterback situation doesn't prove to be too much of a detriment in the long run. For my Vikings, like I said, go
ahead on the Vikings thing, man. I gotta use the bathroom real quick.
Absolutely. For the Vikings, the biggest issue that we have heard so far is that center position, but otherwise it seems like the offensive line is starting to gel. The reports that continue to come out is that Kirk Cousins looks abnormally sharp, that he is doing a very good job. Unfortunately, Irv Smith, our starting tight end, went down with another injury, had to have a little surgery on his finger. That's been his problem so far in the NFL. It's not that he's a glass man. He's had different injuries, different parts of the body. It's not like a recurring thing, but they expect him to be back for game 1. And we don't have a ton of tight end depth behind that. But other than that, the offense apparently has looked great. We're at the point now where we have enough receivers between Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and KJ Osborne that we have a solid starting 3. Amir Smith-Marset looks like a solid number 3 or 4 in this league. And then we have a plethora of guys who could easily be the number 5 receiver. I don't know if we'll go into the season with 5 or 6 guys on the depth chart, but we're probably going to end up having a couple of those guys get released to go to practice squad that we just can't afford to keep. Overall offense is looking really good. We just need to shore up that interior offensive line, specifically the center position. And then on defense, I mean, last year riddled with injuries on defense, which made us, not have a good year at all. However, this year, apparently the defense is looking good. Our linebackers are flying around doing great. Defensive line looks great, getting a ton of edge pressure from Smith and Daniil. And then the biggest question mark was our defensive backs. And we've had apparently a really good showing from our defensive backs, especially the rookies like Andrew Booth Jr., Caleb Evans. They are a tenacious group. They keep on getting into it, bickering back and forth, and a lot of jaw jacking with the receivers. The receivers win some of them, some of the battles. The cornerbacks win some of the other battles, which is what training camp is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a good back and forth. That means, iron sharpens iron. And I'm liking to see that from some of our rookies, some of our guys like Cam Dantzler, who is, I believe, going into his 3rd year, probably going to be starting opposite of Patrick Peterson, who apparently also has been looking real sharp this camp. So having the defensive backs actually start to show up a little bit more against a very talented wide receiver group gives me a lot of hope that we'll actually have a pretty good scheme going defensively this year, and that we might see a big uptick, going from one of the worst defenses in the league possibly up to middle, top 15 potentially defense in the league, as long as those defensive backs actually show out like they're supposed to. And everything has looked good so far. But kind of like I was saying, that the defensive backs have been jaw-jacking a lot, have been getting pretty chippy with the wide receivers going back and forth, and nothing has gotten physical to this point that has been reported yet. The same can't be said for what's going on in the Saints camp.
That was an excellent transition, by the way. Excellent transition.
And I know Mike really wants to talk about this because this is something that we've talked about in the show a little bit. This year, the Saints drafted a offensive lineman out of University of Northern Iowa.
Yeah,
Trevor Penny.
Big old country fed boy, nasty, mean streak, will go out there and outwork everybody else.
And he started really making a name for himself in the Senior Bowl practices because he was mauling people, especially on the right side of the line. Not as much on the left side, but on the right side, definitely mauling people and getting into it with some of the players there because he was going 100% on every play in practice, where you don't always do that. And when you get to NFL practices, sometimes you do taper it back a little bit, especially through walkthroughs and things like that, as to not create animosity amongst your team or get anyone hurt. And it sounds like Trevor Penning has been like, nah, fuck that. No. I'm playing football and I'm going to fuck people up. We talked about a retirement of an offensive lineman, I believe, last time we were on here. Somebody played for the Dolphins and the Raiders and Incognito. The Bills, Richie Incognito. And he was known to be kind of that dirty, mean mauler type of player. And we might have another one of those. We might have another one of those in Trevor Penning, because 3 days in a row, Trevor Penning was getting in scraps with players on the field, leading to him actually being kicked out of practice on that third day for his third fight in a row.
Yeah. So in the NFL, you have to know, and you can go back, listen to Pat McAfee, listen to damn near anybody who is in the NFL who has a podcast or talks about this type of thing. You have to know how to practice when you're in the NFL. Like, you can go out there and work, but there's a certain way in which you conduct yourself when you practice. Now, Trevor Penning is not going to find himself in the position of one of those bottom tier, bottom quarter of the 53, because he was a very high draft pick. But those guys towards the bottom of the roster, if you don't know how to practice, if you're told to stay up and you're not staying up, if you hit the quarterback, it'll get you fucking cut. The next day, you will not be on that team. You'll be out of the organization. They have no problem cutting somebody if you are a detriment to all of the other 52, the other 70, the other 90 guys that are out there, depending on what part of camp you're in. And Trevor Penning is starting to realize, maybe I need to fucking figure out what the hell I'm supposed to do in the NFL, because you're not going to go out there and play bully ball against a bunch of guys, especially on that fucking Saints defensive line, veterans who have been around for a long time, and then you're just going to try to fucking bully them around, throwing them to the ground, causing fights. That is not going to fly in the locker room. It's not going to work when he gets to the actual field, because dudes are going to fight him. He's going to cause penalties. I already called this guy a walking hold when we were doing our, little draft preview and stuff. I kind of expected something like this to come. I wasn't expecting 3 days in a row and him being kicked out of practice.
Now, I'll say this. I watched the video on that third day, and he maybe went a little bit beyond the whistle with his blocking of the defensive player that he was going against. But that defensive player actually came at him first.
Yeah, but I think that's probably a culmination of it being the third day in a row.
Probably. And it wasn't even really a fight. There was a couple really hard shoves and stuff like that. It wasn't really a fight. I'll say this. From my own camp, I talked about Garrett Bradbury getting pancaked multiple times in a row. And the guy doing it is Harrison Phillips, who is an interior defensive lineman that we brought in from the Bills this year, and he's looking phenomenal. And this guy's always been a run stuffer. He's always been hard-nosed. He just hasn't gotten the opportunity to consistently be a starter in Buffalo because that team is so good along their front. Harrison Phillips said in an interview earlier during training camp, for a lot of these guys, this is life and death. He's like, that's where I come from. He's like, I wasn't a top pick coming out of Stanford. It was life and death for me. So I'm going out there and I'm giving my all 100% every snap. And he's like, it's not just for me, though, at this point in my career, because I've kind of made it. He's like, it's for those younger guys. They need to be going all out. And sometimes they're going to be going all out against a tenured veteran that already has their spot locked down, and they're not going to like that. But it's up to the tenured veteran to understand this guy is trying to get better. He's trying to make his spot in the squad. And maybe I'm on my heels a little bit resting, and I need to pick myself up, and maybe I just put him in his place. If I'm that much better and he shouldn't be doing this to me, maybe I put him in his place and I knock him on his ass type thing. Yeah. Trevor Penning going out there, I can't fault the guy for giving 100% effort. Yeah, there's probably times during walkthroughs and stuff that you shouldn't be doing this, but honestly, if you're frustrating guys, if you're getting the better of some of these veterans, maybe it's more on the veteran to think about, like, hey, maybe I need to quit fucking around, or maybe I fucking pop this guy in the jaw and show him this is why I'm starting
Hey,
opposite of you.
listen, this is the man's league, and you're not gonna
chill.
you're not gonna manhandle me.
Yeah. At the end of the day, as long as he is a good teammate otherwise, and he practices hard and probably ruffles some feathers, but as long as he's a good teammate and he's doing good things for his team, I'm okay with it. I'd rather have that guy on my squad than the one opposite of me, possibly.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't want the cupcake. I do like the, going after it, getting it, working hard. It's something that I try to instill in Graydon. It doesn't matter if you fucking rep 1 or rep 30 of the day, they should all try to look the same with the same effort. I totally understand that. I don't know that it works the same way at that level. Like, you got to know how to practice. If it's bad enough that you're being kicked out of practice, I think that that's a culmination of things. Somebody's getting under somebody's skin, and there was obviously a problem there. Now, they're not going to cut Trevor Penning. They're going to have a conversation. He may get a little fucking fine. He's going to get a fine, probably internal, that probably won't even be released. Like, hey,
I don't even know if they'll fine him. They might make him, do some gassers and things like that. Some of that sort of stuff. I don't know if they'll even fine him.
I don't know, man. I don't know, but yeah, when that popped up, I was like, yeah, okay, of course, that makes 100% sense. Trevor Penning was kicked out of
almost
fucking
like
practice.
Two thick dumb idiots talked about this before. Yeah. So we did have a question pop up here. What about the Eagles and Jalen Hurts, being the bottom 4 for passing yards last year? Think he will step up, or an alternative so they don't look so bad? They had to rely on that rushing game last year because the receivers, you got Jalen Reagor.
Well, they had Devontae Smith as well. Devontae Smith had a pretty decent year.
The French fry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Jalen Reagor, but they did add what the fuck is his first name? I just forgot.
AJ Brown.
AJ Brown. Thank you.
Yep. So the Eagles have added a bunch of other receiving talent. They actually have a decent receiving core this year.
Yes,
Jalen Hurts can throw the ball. He's not a phenomenal passer of the ball, but he can throw the ball. But he's a very good runner.
I don't think he'll have to throw it too far. Now, obviously, they're going to have to find a way to stretch the field a little bit. But AJ Brown is a guy that you can get the ball 1-2 yards away from the line, and he can make a fucking play happen. Now, I don't know if you're going to get the same thing with Devontae. I think he's going to work probably more in the middle of the field, work those short intermediate routes. Jalen Reagor is a guy that's supposed to be able to take the top off of defense, but couldn't catch a fucking cold in Alaska in the middle of the winter, wearing no clothes, soaking fucking wet.
Yeah.
So I
like Jalen Hurts for what he is. He is a rushing quarterback that has the ability to throw the ball around, but this offense, and as they moved into this last year, they tried to be a little bit more diverse. And then they were like, hey, what's working for us? Rushing the ball. So we're going to continue rushing the ball. They've got good running backs. Jalen Reagor can run the ball pretty well, but this is a passing league. That is only going to get you so far. When teams start to stack the box, you're going to have to be able to throw the ball. Now you've got guys that allow you to do that much easier, maybe with a quarterback that is not as prolific as a passer like a Jalen Hurts. All right.
I think Hurts is going to be just fine.
And Roberta Gosellini brought up that they do have Quez as their third wide receiver, and he actually showed up last year and didn't look too bad. I don't expect them to move on from Hurts this year. I think that they probably will have a run-first offense that is going to mix in more passing. They do have more dynamic passing options this year. But at the end of the day, you've got the mustache lying in wait. If you need someone to sling that fucking pigskin around, you've got the best backup pigskin. You got the best backup quarterback in the fucking league sitting right behind Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. I know that.
You're good to go.
And there's a couple teams, and one of my co-hosts here that would love to find a way to get Minshew mania over to the Vikings.
100%. I did actually listen to a brief thing this morning going over how Kellen Mond, our backup quarterback, is doing in camp. And we also have Sean Mannion. Sean Mannion is like best friends with Kirk Cousins. He's the de facto third quarterback coach, essentially, in Sean Mannion. But that guy cannot play football. He's just, you don't want to put him on the field. It is almost guaranteed loss. You are playing with 10 offensive players if you put him in to start because Kirk Cousins goes down. Kellen Mond Rookie last year, never got a chance, didn't seem to be liked by the Zimmer organization there. He's getting every fair shot this year. He is just apparently very, very, very slow to process things right now. Every once in a while, you'll see a flash where he throws a good ball, but he's super slow to process. And again, if that is your backup and who you have to go into the year with, it ain't going to look good if he has to play. That's why if you could bring in a Gardner Minshew, someone that Kirk goes down, which Kirk has been relatively healthy his entire career. The only game that he's missed was a COVID game last year. Knock on wood, I guess, that he won't get hurt. But if Kirk goes down and we have to put Minshew in, I don't think that we're going to have that steep of a drop off, and I'm still going to feel good about winning games. If I have to put Kellen Mond or
Sean Mannion in,
what's his nuts in, I'm not super hopeful.
Season's over.
Yeah. And that's why for the Eagles, you have one of the best pieces of trade bait out there if you truly are invested in Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't work, then hey, you go after a rookie quarterback next year.
And they got the juice to go do it, right? They still have multiple first-round picks this year.
I believe so.
I think they still have at least 2.
And see,
I think they got rid of 1.
So you've got Roberto Gussolini saying Carson Strong and Minshew have looked bad so far. But that's
Carson
coming from
Strong
someone that doesn't understand. Yeah. And Gussolini doesn't really know football too much. He's a Howie Roseman fan. So
Carson Strong is going to look terrible. He's a rookie coming out of Nevada, big, strong arm guy. And he's just there. He's a rookie. You're going to sit him back there. And if you probably have
Minshew playing with the twos, and Minshew needs to be playing with the men, not the number 2s of a wide receiver core that last year was absolutely atrocious. So all their good receivers are on that first squad. Minshew needs to be playing with men. So you send him to another team with a bunch of men, and he'll do all right.
Yeah. I think Hurts is going to be fine. I think the Eagles win that division. They play really good defense. They run the ball well. Jalen can make throws when he has to. You just don't want him to have to throw it 30, 40 times a game to win you the game. If they can run the ball and play defense, they'll be fine.
It'll be between the Cowboys and the Eagles, and right now I think the Eagles have that inside route to take that division.
I do too. Yeah, because I don't know that Washington's getting any better. Carson Wentz is gonna have a rough time out there, I think. And then I'm not on the Giants at all. This is Danny Dimes, probably last year there. So
probably, yep.
But I mean, I like Jalen. Jalen showed that he can go out and win you some games.
I think he can be. I don't think he'll ever be more than an average NFL quarterback. You'll have sparks and shows here and there. It's just, can you win a championship with an average quarterback? Yes, but not consistently.
Can.
Not consistently.
Right. So actually, this reminded me. So I saw what Gab posed this question on Twitter. Can you win a championship in the NFL if your quarterback is not one of the top 5 players on your team?
Top 5 on your team?
Yes. If he's not one of the top 5 players on your team, can you win a championship?
Yes.
I agree.
Trent Dilfer.
Yeah, so it's very, very few and far between. I'm going to go much closer, and I'm probably going to take some heat for this.
Eli Manning.
Last year with the Rams, I don't think Stafford was a top 5 player on that team.
I mean, there's a good argument there. It's a star-studded team.
At the highest, he's 5.
Yeah. We could probably name off a bunch of these guys. Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, just for quick starters.
Von Miller, who was there last year. No, I put him above Stafford. So at the highest, Stafford is 5. So, yeah, I think it absolutely can be done.
I mean, where do you place OBJ in that list?
No, I would put Stafford over OBJ.
Is that animosity speaking?
No, just Stafford has done it for a really, really long time now, and he's been really good for a really long time. OBJ was really good for a few years in New York, and then he was not good with us. He had a pretty good year last year with the Rams, for the time that he was there. But he's a bigger star than Stafford is, but I don't know that he's a better player than Stafford is. So maybe Stafford is 5, but still, it's very close.
Yeah. I would say, can you win with a quarterback who's not the top 5 best players on your roster? Yes, and we've seen that. Like I said, a Trent Dilfer for that 2001 Ravens team, was it, or not 2001? It was somewhere during that time frame. But the Ravens, when Trent Dilfer took them to the Super Bowl and won. Mm-hmm. Trent Dilfer was a meh quarterback.
Oh yeah,
but that team was just on defense. There was 5 better players than him.
Yeah, I think that defense had like 5 or 6 Hall of Famers on it.
Yeah, Siragusa, Ray Lewis, like was Ed Reed on that squad?
Ed Reed was on that squad.
Like you just killers on that defense.
God, what was their defensive end's name? I think he's still in the league. Fuck.
Not
Suggs. Terrell Suggs. Was Suggs there?
Suggs might have been, maybe.
Man, very early in Suggs' career, then maybe.
Either way,
it's still, there's so many dudes on that defense. They were so dominant on defense. That's one of the greatest defenses of all time.
You have to have an incredible squad around a quarterback that is not the 5th best player in your team in order to have it be successful. But like I was saying, there's no consistency with that because you didn't see them repeat. I mean, Dilfer, I believe, retired, but you're not going to see that situation repeat. Not with very much consistency. The closest I think that we could come to, and I would probably get hate for this, is Eli Manning on the Giants.
I don't know if Eli was legit though.
Was, sure. But I think that they had other good players on that team where, I mean, I don't know, maybe the Giants aren't a great example. I think that you can definitely get by.
Well, that defensive line on that team was fucking out insane as well.
I mean, shit, we had
Strahan, JPP, fucking, was it, also, how the fuck do you say his name? Also, I cannot remember how to do it. He had the crazy face mask, like fucking billions of bars on the face mask, looked like a cage.
I know.
OCU Manura. That was it.
Okay. Yep.
Like that's 3 guys on the D line that were better than Eli.
Gooselini brought it up. Nick Foles on the Eagles.
Oh yeah, very true. I would not.
I mean, obviously, it was only at the end of the year. You know, he came in during the playoffs, but Carson Wentz also not the 5th best player on his team for the majority of that regular season.
Well, he was having an MVP year, close to an MVP.
People were saying Kyler were having an MVP year.
Okay,
last year. Right. Like that's a lot of fan voting type stuff. But I think it was like 2012 that you had a playoffs where it was going to be like Tom Brady, Christian Ponder, Blake Bortles, like the 4 and Nick Foles were your. Like
Tom should have won.
Case Keenum, not Christian Potter. Case Keenum. So that was the year that Case Keenum was the Vikings starter, and Case Keenum,
Minneapolis Miracle,
not top 5 on that team. It was a star-studded team all around him. You know, Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen on offense, Dalvin Cook, all that stuff. You can absolutely do it. You can't do it with any sort of consistency, and you have to have like. It almost is like the quarterback has to be like the 10th best player on your team. Like you need that much star power around them in order to be able to make it.
All right. God, we got any other NFL stuff? What else is going on in the NFL?
I mean, you've got a whole bunch of little injuries here and there going around.
We're going to start seeing a lot of that stuff.
Yep. Nothing egregiously major yet. That's really changing up a football team's outlook. You know, we haven't seen a quarterback go down yet, which, you know, generally is bound to happen, unfortunately. Usually you're going to see a quarterback go down and then people are going to be having to make some moves.
Trevor Penning's going to throw somebody into the fucking legs of old
Jameis.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's one thing with the NFL that happened right after the Deshaun Watson stuff that we didn't actually get into, and that's concerning the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, this is a wild fucking story.
Yeah, we'd be remiss not to speak about this. And real quick here, I think Matt Ryan is going to look great with the Colts.
They're going to be so fucking good.
They've talked about his preparation.
So fucking good.
They've talked about his preparation planning being very akin to Peyton Manning. People are getting that sort of vibe from him again, and he ain't Peyton Manning. But if you're bringing any sort of that sort of juju back into that locker room, it's a good thing.
If anybody in that Colts organization even has the audacity to put you in the same breath as Peyton Manning, you're going to be just fucking fine.
Yep. And Gooby also asked, do we think Gronk will play at all this year? He actually said he's going to stay retired. Look, I think like they could try to bring back for the playoffs if they have, Kyle Rudolph go down, who they also signed or something like that, and they need a tight end, but I don't expect that to happen.
No, I think Gronk's done, man. He's made his money. He wants to go and enjoy it. He's got so many other things. You fucking go WWE, wrestling. Like Gronk is not going to hurt for money ever. He's apparently pretty intelligent with his money. Like he doesn't have direct access, I'm pretty sure, to the majority of his funds. I think his mom is like the executor of his estate and kind of reins him in from doing the extra dumb shit that Gronk would probably do. I love Gronk, but he is a big dumb animal. He's the frat kid that never got out of that. But I don't expect him to come back. He doesn't need the money. He's, I think, widely regarded as the greatest tight end that's ever played. So he has nothing else to prove.
Yep. But back to the Dolphins. So right after the Deshaun Watson news came out, the Miami Dolphins and owner Stephen Ross were penalized, fined. The team lost their first-round draft pick next year and a third-round pick the year after that, all kind of stemming from the issues with their previous coach and the NFL's investigation into the team in them talking about possibly throwing games, collusion, tampering, things like that. So it was found in the report that Stephen Ross made it known that his team's draft position should take precedence over the team winning games in 2019. However, the report kind of brushed that off and said, it was kind of a joke. It was kind of a joke, even though it was in written documentation and stuff like that. They don't like that look. But what they were able to kind of go after them for was tampering with Sean Payton, with Tom Brady. Brady, when he was still under contract with other teams, which means they're not allowed to talk to him about this sort of stuff. Trying to get him to come down there, play for the team, and then as he's getting into retirement, become partial owner and whatnot. So either way, the Dolphins and owner Stephen Ross. Stephen Ross is not allowed to represent the team, I believe, until October sometime.
October, yeah.
They had a minority owner as well, who was fined $500,000. I believe Ross is fined, like
1.5.
over $1 million. Yeah. The other owner was fined $500,000, also not allowed to be around the team, which means that currently the majority team owner or the face of the team is Fergie. It's Fergalicious down in Miami, baby. The current lead owner of the Miami Dolphins right now is Fergie. So
I didn't know Fergie was in the owner business.
Yes, she's the one that'll be showing up to league meetings and stuff like that. It's going to get retarded in here. And I can say that because that's the name of their song before they had to switch it. At least the Black Eyed Peas did not say spaz.
I'm not doing that. I don't want to talk about that.
Well, I'll say
I don't have the energy to do that right now.
Sorry for spazzing out.
Yeah. So these penalties are fucking wild. It's an insanely high penalty, and I think this is kind of tying back into the NFL and the things that are happening with the Cleveland Browns. They see something egregious. They find out about it and they have to come in. They have to drop the hammer on an owner because they didn't do that before. And now they're going back and they're trying to drop the hammer on Deshaun when the NFL has always been way harder on players, even though owners are supposed to follow conduct policy as well. So he is being made example of. A first and a third round pick is a lot, especially like this year. You don't have a first round pick now. And this team is not great. I'm not sold on Tua at all. So this is going to hurt real bad. But I mean, just don't fucking break the rules, I guess. I understand wanting to talk to somebody who maybe is not happy in a situation, but they have rules for a reason on the tampering, because then I don't think anybody wants to see the super team kind of thing come to the NFL. It's really hard to do that anyways. You can win free agency all the time and not be any fucking good at football. You have to learn how to develop and build a football team. But yeah, when I saw the money is fucking irrelevant to these guys. Sitting out is kind of irrelevant, I think, as well. Unless you're, like a Jerry Jones, who's very hands-on with the organization. But the first and the third round pick is insane. Robert Kraft, they lost a third round pick, and that was it?
I believe so.
For fucking soliciting a prostitute, a massage therapist. Who will massage your cock for money?
Asian massage therapist who massaged his front back.
Yeah.
Wiener.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a way harsher penalty. But I think they have to do something like this because they've been very soft on owners and they have a really bad look right now.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, Brian Flores, former coach of the Miami Dolphins, kind of brought all this into light. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons why this kind of fell into place was from an errant text message
from Bill Belichick,
from
master manipulator. Yeah.
Bill Belichick. he sent a text to Brian Flores, which kind of alluded to things going on. And, Bill, he is playing 3D chess while we are all playing checkers.
Fucking checkers.
he just is not even in the middle of the season yet. And already he is beat the Dolphins.
Yeah, he's already beat the Dolphins. The only team that really had a chance to, because they're not going to beat the Bills. The only team that they have to worry about, because they got no chance against the Bills, in my opinion. They have to worry about beating the Dolphins, and then I guess the Jags. But the Jags, the Jags are in the South. Who the fuck's the other team? Oh, the Jets. Never mind. Yeah, so they got the Jets and the Dolphins. They probably have to win all four of those. Well, count 2 for the fucking Dolphins already. You're probably losing 2 to the Bills. So that's 4-2 in a division. That looks really good when it comes down to tiebreakers in the playoffs. So, yeah, good on Bill. I wish he liked fantasy football a little bit because maybe he would tell us who the fuck his running backs are going to be on a week-to-week basis. But
I had to bring up this tweet from a Roger Sherman blue check mark here talking about the Dolphins situation, and it says, with the Dolphins majority owner and his top-ranking partner suspended, the highest-ranking team owner now appears to be Fergie. This is not a drill. Everyone must report to Fergie. Too-alicious definition. Make the boys go loco.
Hell yeah. Fergalicious stuff.
It's too-alicious.
Too-alicious?
Yeah. As in Tua Tagovailoa.
No. It will never be too-alicious.
Hey,
it will never be too delicious.
One thing with the Dolphins, I know that you're not sold on Tua. I'm not completely sold on him either. One of the rookie quarterbacks that I was kind of high on ended up going there to the Dolphins, and that's Skylar Thompson.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we talked about him.
Apparently, he's been looking pretty good in camp.
Hey.
Now, he's only getting 15 to 20 passes and actual, 8-on-8s and stuff like that. It took him 9 practices to throw his first interception. He apparently has looked pretty good. Other players are noticing. There's articles being written about who's this guy and why is he looking so good in camp. Now he is throwing with the 2s and 3s,
going against the
2s and 3s. So we have to kind of
hedge that,
hold this back a little bit, but you never know. He might have himself a career going forward somewhere.
Athletic kid too, kind of becoming the prototypical NFL quarterback. Can break the pocket, make a play with his feet. He's got a chance because Tua can't fucking throw it more than 30 yards down the field.
Yep.
But we got anything else in the NFL?
I don't think so, man.
All right. Well, let's get off the NFL stuff then. Let's hop over. Let's talk about baseball real quick because baseball got fucking crazy while we were away. Trade deadline. Juan Soto is no longer a Washington National. He's out in San Diego, and that team is going to be so fucking stacked. San Diego has got to make the playoffs this year. They missed the playoffs last year after, being right there in the race the whole fucking year. They're getting ready to get Fernando Tatis back off the IL. So that lineup is going to be insane. They also added Brandon Drury to that lineup, who has had a phenomenal year, or was having a phenomenal year with the Reds. So they are stacked 1 through 9 right now. Pitching's really good. They re-signed Joe Musgrove. There were some pretty big moves that were made, but one thing that I thought was hilarious, but also really shitty for the people involved in this Juan Soto trade, is Eric Hosmer was supposed to be part of the deal to get sent over to the Nationals. Well, Eric Hosmer had a small no trade clause in his contract. And one of the teams that on that no trade clause was the Washington Nationals. So he said, no, I'm not fucking going over there. They stink. So instead of Eric Hosmer going over there, they had to send Luke Voigt over, who was really excited, talking up how dominant that lineup was going to be with him batting for Juan Soto, Manny Machado batting around him, Fernando Tatis coming back. And now he's not fucking there. He's going to go from one of the teams that contending to the worst team in baseball. And he was less than thrilled about it because Eric Hosmer said, nah, I'm not doing it. And he still got traded out of there. Eric Hosmer ended up going over to the Red Sox. So, I mean, do you feel bad for Voigt? How do we feel about Hosmer saying, no, I'm not fucking doing that?
I mean, it makes sense for Hosmer. I wouldn't want to go into that situation particularly either. I'd rather stick with the team that's probably making the postseason. So, if you put a no trade clause in your contract, you might as well exercise it.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, the Guardians missed out on Jonathan Lucrow a few years ago because he had a no trade clause in his contract, and he said he was not going to come to Cleveland. So now it worked out for Cleveland because he has not been very good since he's been traded. But yeah, I like the no trade clause. I feel like it's weird. Like if it's only certain teams, are you picking because of the team, the owner, the manager? Like, what is it about that organization that says, I'm not fucking going. I don't care what happens. It's weird to me. Like, cause I haven't been to most of these places. I haven't been to most of these cities. A lot of people don't like Cleveland. I think Cleveland's fucking awesome. I love the city going into Cleveland. There are some parts that I try to avoid, but
that's with every big town.
Yeah. So elsewhere in Major League Baseball,
the Cleveland Guardians did a lot.
Yeah, Cleveland Guardians. So we traded Sandy Leone for some guy who's in like AAA, and we probably won't ever see him because we're playing a bunch of young cats. We fucking sent Franmil Reyes down to AAA because he wasn't hitting. So I think our starting lineup right now, our age has dropped down from 26 to 25 or almost maybe 24 and a half. It's insane. I don't love the fact that we didn't do anything. I would have liked us to see us try to go get one more bat and some pitching help because there was conversations about Shane Bieber being on the block. Luckily, Shane was not traded. Hopefully, he starts to figure out some of the things that really made him struggle this year. But yeah, we didn't do shit. We're standing pat. We're going to bring up our young core. We're going to develop those guys. And then maybe in another year or two, we can actually go for and fucking go all in and maybe make a run at a World Series again. Because we got a ton of pieces down in the farm system. Like right now, we're very, very young at the big league level. And we still have, I think, 4 guys who are in the top 100 prospects because other guys have been called up, like a Nolan Jones. So we still have guys down below that we need to get up here at some point. We're just not going to have room for them. So I would see a big trade in the next 2 years happening, but we are where we are. And right now I'm okay with that because we are not fucking far out of the standings. We're 2 games behind you guys. We are 2.5 out of the wild card. So we're still right in it playing a bunch of kids who do not have a lot of major league at bats.
Mm-hmm. But on the inverse of that, the Twins did go out there and they made moves to get 3 pitchers. The biggest thing that they needed was pitching help, and they were able to bring that in because we've had like a collective ERA of like 6 something the first half of the year, which is horrible from our starters. They went out and got 3 pitchers, an awesome closer in Jorge Lopez, Tyler Mahle, I believe is how you say his name, and Michael Fulmer. We've added what we needed. We've already seen the Lopez trade pay off because he's going out there and doing good things. We do need to get better at pitching. We've brought in the help for that. We'll see how that works out. So far, it has looked good. We are still, like you said, only 1.5, 2 games ahead.
2 games up.
So it is still pretty tight there. Hopefully this is enough of a spark to get us pushed a little bit further. It seems like we're on a pace right now where we win every other game. That's not going to do it in the long run.
Yeah. Well, the Guardians are middling right now anyways. We're 54-52. I mean, we're not out of it, but man, I wanted to see something get added there at the deadline. But I think, and I was reading an article from The Athletic, that a lot of people were not expecting the Guardians to do much because they are so young, that they want to get these guys at bats. We can compete this year, but we're not going to contend for a title. And then over the next couple of years, that's really where that stuff's going to happen, because we'll have some of those guys that we're calling up, they will become established, everyday major league players. And then we can talk about moving some prospects from some guys that are okay, but they're not quite there. And then we'll know exactly, what we got. And if we have the juice to go fucking make a run at, a big time fucking free agent or making a trade for like a Juan Soto, which that would have been awesome, but I knew it was never going to happen. Apparently Shohei Ohtani was on the block as well, though.
Yeah, that's actually really surprising to me. I wouldn't expect that the Angels would want to even consider moving him.
No, I don't. So I don't know why they would think about doing it unless he's so incredibly unhappy. Now he didn't sign a massive contract. He signed, I think, like 4 or 5 year deal there. So he's going to be coming up on that pretty soon. If they're not going to be able to re-sign him because they cannot find a way to put a fucking competitive team on the field with 2 of the best players in the world, he's going to want to leave. So you're going to have to get something for him. And the Juan Soto haul was impressive. The amount of shit that the Nationals got back was great. If Shohei Ohtani gets traded, it's going to make that look like fucking small potatoes, because you got to replace a ace pitcher and one of the best bats in your lineup with Shohei Ohtani. You're looking for 2 like all-star caliber players at a minimum to get back to make up for what Shohei did. But also Shohei sells fuckloads of tickets. Like, I don't care where Shohei goes. He could go to fucking Milwaukee in middle America and people are going to show up just to see this guy. That's what he sells tickets. He's obviously fantastic, but money's a huge aspect of that as well.
Absolutely. He's going to get paid big.
Oh yeah. He may get the biggest contract ever.
He's just a fucking fun player to watch. I mean, he makes it international and stuff too, essentially. Like, not to make this racially whatever geared, but like, if you're able to tap into the Asian market, they go ham for their players.
Oh yeah.
And so that's what he is right now.
Yes.
He's international.
Hideki Matsui was fucking unbelievable for the Yankees, and kind of bringing in that community. Ichiro did the same fucking thing up in Seattle. Shohei is doing that in LA, and he'll be able to do that anywhere he goes. Now, obviously, he's not going to want to go somewhere like Middle America where there's not really an Asian community, but like the thought of Shohei getting traded, they are going to have to figure out a way to build a fucking winner real goddamn fast, or they are going to have to trade Shohei, because I don't know if he'll stay. He wants to win. That's all he wants to do, is just fucking win. Mm-hmm. He's already going to go down as one of the most exciting players ever. And he's only been like doing this for 3-4 years at the bigs. So,
yeah. Now, is there any other MLB trades from the trade deadline that you wanted to go over?
Not really. I mean, David Bell going over in the Juan Soto trade was kind of a big deal. The fucking Padres are stacked. But I didn't see, I mean, not really, not for me. Did you see anything?
No, nothing big in particular trade wise. There is one thing that we want to talk about though, concerning the Dodgers. They actually lost their longtime broadcaster Vin Scully at the age of 94. He had been calling Dodgers games for 67 years, retired back in 2016, and he passed away over this last week.
Yeah, Vin Scully was phenomenal. He's one of those old school guys. Now you listen to the announcers now; they're a little bit more animated. They get juiced up. Vin Scully probably didn't have a ton of that traditional fucking training. He was an old school baseball guy. He was very calm, but God, listening to Vin Scully call a game was something that was really, really cool. He was one of those, you hear his voice, you think baseball. He's one of those guys that's synonymous with baseball. Like him and Bob Uecker, those are those guys that I think of when I'm thinking of a baseball announcer, because they just did it for so long. They did it so well. They became iconic as somebody who was just calling a game. So
who's the guy for the Cubs?
I don't remember his name. Was it Harry Carey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Harry.
Harry Carey. So I don't ever think of Harry Carey, but like for me, it's Vin Scully and Bob Uecker. Bob Uecker, obviously, because the movies, but great guy. Did his job so fucking well. He'll always be remembered as the Dodgers, play-by-play guy, and massive loss, and condolences to his family.
Absolutely.
All right.
Anything else for baseball, buddy?
I don't think so. What else do we have on tap here? All right, we got that. All right, so something that we talked about a little bit last week. We'll talk about it again very quickly. Brittany Griner has been sentenced in Russia. She's getting 9 years for bringing over like hardly any fucking THC. Now, you've heard us talk about this before. We talked about this with Carnes as well. You have got to follow host nation laws, right? If you don't, there's a good chance that you're going to get in some deep shit, because other countries are not as forgiving in certain circumstances about things like this. I am a big proponent that marijuana should be legalized. I was on fucking cloud 45 last night because I don't have a job anymore. So I have no problem with people doing it. You just got to follow the laws. But 9-year sentence for very little is insane to me. It's wrong, but this is Russia, and they're playing a political game. This had nothing to do with what she did, the amount she brought in. It has everything to do with who she is and how she can be politically used against the United States at a time where relations are terrible, especially with the war in Ukraine going on.
Yeah, it's like what we talked about before. Look, we're coming from the United States where, in general, the idea is that marijuana should be legalized. In many states, it is legalized, at least medicinally, if not recreationally. And I believe that we are looking within this generation, it'll be completely federally legalized in the U.S., more than likely. I guess what I want to say in the situation more so is other countries, it is not as nice as it is here. But it isn't nice here either in a lot of ways. We have so many people for minor drug-related crimes in prison right now, specifically marijuana, who are serving longer sentences than 9 years. And even in states where it is now legal, you still have people in prison for minor drug offenses, particularly people of color. This situation, it isn't just Brittany Griner. It isn't just in Russia. It's still happening here. We still have people in prison. If you're outraged about Brittany Griner, you need to be looking inwards here at the U.S. as well. We need reform on this whole subject. Brittany Griner going to Russia, she's being used as a political pawn. They were going to probably do something to someone somehow, whether it was Brittany Griner or someone else of notoriety, in order to try to basically kidnap them and use them as a political chip. But if we want to talk about the drug issue, we still have to look internally. We are not in a good spot here in the U.S. either. We need to have that sort of change. If you are going to another nation, you need to follow their rules to a T, like we've said, or you'll probably find yourself in a situation like this. Just being an American doesn't get you out of these sorts of situations. Just having fame and notoriety doesn't always get you out of these situations, especially when you're going to one of our biggest rival countries in the world. So we'll see what happens with that. I know that there's still been talks of a trade for her and other people who are incarcerated by Russia for other minuscule or lesser crimes. I guess she should consider herself fortunate in a way because of who she is. Because if this was you or me going over there getting caught with this stuff, no one would know, and we'd be locked away in the gulag forever.
Yeah, we'd be done. People would not have any idea. Now, I understand this, and I mean, I know we've been going for a little bit, but we're going to do a little story time. One of the reasons why I'm so big on following host nation laws is because I was in a situation where we did something incredibly stupid. We were coming home from Afghanistan, flew into Turkey. Okay, so we're not supposed to drink, still on General Order number 1. All of our military folks know what that means. Anybody who doesn't means, even though you're not in a combat zone anymore, you're still going to act and conduct yourself as if you are in a combat zone. There's no drinking. You're not supposed to gamble. You're not supposed to look at porn. Most of those things happen anyways, even when we're downrange, but almost nobody drinks. Okay. So we get into Turkey and we're hanging out. Well, our first sergeant, head enlisted guy is with us. He's like, we're going out. He's the highest ranking guy there. He says we're going out. Guess what? We're going out. Nobody's getting in trouble. We're going to have a good fucking time. So we go to the bowling alley, get shit housed. Bowling alley closes down. Well, we got a bunch of dumb drunk soldiers. Nobody's ready to go home, especially Top. So he's like, we're going to go off post of Incirlik Air Force Base in Turkey. So we do that, go to this bar. It's like in the basement. And then there's just a table of random girls sitting around. We're all having drinks. One of our buddies brings the girls over. Okay, we're hanging out, have a couple drinks. We all go to leave. And then as we're leaving, they tell us, hey, this is going to be $1,300. Like everybody had maybe 2 beers and a shot apiece. There were 6 of us. So it ain't $1,300 worth. I don't care. There was no gold laced in that fucking alcohol. So we were getting shaken down, we thought. Come to find out that we were not at a bar. Those women were working and we were taking up their time. Top says, we're not fucking paying that. We go to leave. We get surrounded by like 30 Turkish guys in the middle of the streets. And thank God the police showed up and detained us. Took us to jail. And then we had to pay $1,300 to get out of jail. When you go to another country and maybe do some stupid things, there's going to be some really hefty prices to pay. It was we were going to die in the middle of the street, or we were going to get arrested and then forced to pay basically an extortion. Don't fuck around in other countries. Trust me. You do not want to play that game. It is not fun. So...
Absolutely. Yeah. I unfortunately don't think I have any stories like that. Even though I spent plenty of times overseas being stationed over there. So I kept my nose
recommend
clean.
Yeah. Good. I blame my first sergeant. However, I was absolutely involved with the entire process.
The shit rolls uphill today.
Yeah, today it does. All right. So one last thing. I don't know if anybody got to watch it last time. Ice Wars is going on again. Ice Wars 2 is happening tonight. That's the boxing on ice with the hockey pads. Pretty successful last time. Apparently they're going to have an NHL referee going up against a player tonight. Apparently there's a little bit of bad blood there. That'll be very cool. So if you like combat sports, you like hockey, and get a little bit of both, even though there's absolutely no hockey that takes place. You watch 2 fucking monsters just beat the piss out of each other.
Yeah. That's hopefully no one gets cut in the throat by a skate.
Yeah, it's bad. I'm also the only guy that took my skate off and tried to stab a guy.
It's a fun reference for anyone that watches this back later.
Yeah.
All right, anything else you want to go over?
I don't think so, man. I think that's about it. I got nothing else.
All right.
I'm
This is
struggling.
going to be ramping up for us all here pretty soon with football starting.
Oh yeah.
You know, as we get into more preseason games and soon the regular season, we're going to have plenty to be going over. So with that,
we're not that far away. We might be like 30 days away from actual NFL football.
pretty damn close, man. Pretty damn close.
I'm so fucking pumped for that. I cannot wait to get the NFL season started. I wish there was going to be gambling here in Ohio when it started, but I got to wait till the fucking first of the year for that. So that's all right. I'm going to make you be my bookie. Venmo you.
Fair enough.
All right. Well, I got nothing else, man. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to fucking lay down. I'm still struggling from yesterday and last night. So, guys, thank you very much for tuning into the show. I'm Mike. That's Evo. You guys check us out anywhere podcasts are found. Interact with the show on Facebook at the Facebook group or the page. You can also go on Twitter at Lineman Lounge. We got TikTok. We got Instagram. We're fucking everywhere. And pretty soon I'll be coming to a college campus. So I'm trying to generate some content. Might go be an asshole, pull out a folding chair, and create some content with some random students from Cleveland State. So,
alrighty. Don't get canceled too quick now.
Oh, no. I just think it would be super funny to do that at a college campus because it's automatically going to just create this visceral response. People are going to be pissed off and they're going to realize we're talking about sports.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sure that if they start watching the channel, I'll be the one they come after, which
yeah.
Bring it.
Yeah. Fuck them. All right. Love you guys. We'll be back next week and see you.
Welcome to the Lineman Lounge, hosted by Mike and Evo, calling their shots and being outlandish.
Breaking news from the Lineman Lounge. My fantasy football team just took a huge fucking hit. And that also makes it even more likely that the Raiders are going to beat the Ravens on Monday night. Le'Veon Bell is about to be your starter. Latavius Murray is going to go there as well. Jesus, fuck my ass.
Get ready for the thickest podcast in the game. Coming to you from Hangar 6, where sleeves are optional. Strap in.